thank you, fellow Toastmasters. Good evening, and welcome guests. Now, selecting a topic, you would think is just a little minor thing, but it actually helps a great deal because it frees your mind from having to attend to those, creating a topic, which sometimes slows you down because you get bogged down. And I'm taking the technique that Toastmasters has provided. In their Better Speaker series, they have a whole series of different techniques that allow you to become a better speaker because they take away some of the roadmap. I mean, they take away some of the effort that's needed in order to create a speech. So for selecting a topic, what they've done is giving you this technique so that it minimizes your efforts in order to generate a topic, so you can concentrate on getting a good speech. And if you're an old expert Toastmaster, it also gives you a method for generating or refreshing your supply of topics. So that's why I'm giving this speech. So when I looked at it, there were two things that I recognized that in this technique. There was two steps: ideal generation, and then apply the filters. So once you get your topics, then you can decide whether it's a good topic or not for the particular speech that you're giving. You can follow along with the handouts I gave you. So for ideal generation, the technique they give you is look at two different sources. They call it the personal experiences, and then number two is reference materials. Personal experiences make sense because that's what you're close to, that's what you know. That's what you want to give a speech on, especially here in Toastmasters when you start out learning how to give speeches. And reference materials is also obvious in the sense that it gives you access to the external world, what's current, what's all the facts that are out there, so you can take the both sources of information and generate a speech that's relevant for you and that's relevant to the current time. So for ideal generation, I found that the goal is to generate as many possible ideas or topics as possible. You want to have a whole lot to work from. You don't want to start and then at the end have 2 or 3 things to work on. It's like, oh, I didn't get anywhere. Then you're stuck. So the key thing here is don't judge, just generate. And just write on a piece of paper as many topics as you can. So the two sources, again, to reiterate, given by Toastmasters is interests, personal experiences. And they've given you 4 different divisions or categories that they've started you out on. They call it interests, career, family, education. You can add more, this is just what they have. And then they broke it down in their information guide, like interests, sports, hobbies, travel, and then these are just pre-canned. You can substitute your own. I put stories here because when you do these topics, I think it's also important to look out for stories because after all, giving speeches is about giving stories. So if you can recognize a story, then you should at this time write them down. The second source is browsing your reference materials. Again, they've broken it down to 4 things: websites, books, magazines, and newspapers. And they give you reasons why, like websites, the media, journals. I find that websites can be overwhelming. There's just a lot of information out there for you to pick up, and you can spend hours and hours if you allow yourself to do that. So when you get to this point where you're trying to generate topics, you should definitely time box your efforts, because you don't want to spend 2 hours, because that's just procrastination. And the other thing is, when you do all this work, why just do it for one topic? You should start collecting these topics and storing them and saving them for the future, especially if you're going to be writing a lot more speeches. And the next step is, I guess, the creative step, where you're kind of melding these things together and get an idea, get some inspiration. And then in the past, people say, you should have a notebook and a pen and notebook and write it down when you get these ideas. But he said, I never had a pen and notebook. But you don't have an excuse anymore because this is the digital age. You have a phone, so you have something. You can either speak into the recorder, or you can type it in, or you can send yourself a voice message if you really needed to. So with topics, look for stories, look for something that's passionate to you. Deep feelings are a good basis for a strong speech. Something that can convey the emotion or an emotion from a picture or an idea. So after all that idea creation, hopefully you have this big bushy tree of topics or ideas. And now we're going to apply filters to figure out whether the topics are good ones for the specific speech that you're working on now. Of course, you can stop right now and save those and come back later. These don't have to be one right after the other. They can be stored and you can come back when you need a speech. So is the topic suitable? And you have to ask who your audience is going to be. You go through the same how many people, age, and whether they know the topic or not. If they don't know the topic, do you really have time to develop the speech or not? So you do filtering based on that. The occasion, if they already have a theme, maybe you should start with that particular theme. And do your topic generation. We'll go through this pretty quickly. And then your own interests or abilities. Is it something you're interested in? Something you have any knowledge about? Or are you an authority? If you don't, then you're going to have a lot of research to do. And then be specific. That's the first thing they teach you after the icebreaker, is learning to be specific. Because once you get specific, then you use that to cut down the material that you will include or not include. Because that's often the problem, is you have too much material. This is something I added for beginners here at Toastmasters. At Toastmasters, we have scripted speeches for the first 10, and they're usually about 5 to 7 minutes. And that doesn't give you a lot of time. And the general organization is what I give you here, general purpose, specific purpose, and then organizing into introduction, body, and conclusion. So if you can get your speech into that kind of form, then you're ready, or that topic can qualify. So the next thing is, that's the basic technique. Any questions on that? So the next thing I'll do is explore with an example in mind. So I took this technique and applied it to my personal experiences. So interest. I've talked a lot about rock climbing, chess, math, skating. And that kind of hit my mind, this particular type of skating. So initially I said, don't worry about is it a right topic or not, just go ahead and do it. Be confident in my decision. Skating, oh, okay, what happened? I broke my leg skating one time. I was just skating backwards and it broke. I didn't know I broke it. I just fell. I said, is that a story? Well, that's a story, but it's not really a speech. So what happened? Some guy came around and he came up to me and said, don't get up, you broke your leg. I said, don't get up, believe me, I heard your leg break. I said, oh, okay. And is that a story? Yeah, it's a story, it's interesting. How did you know my leg broke? He said, yeah, I heard it snap. I said, don't get up because you're going to just damage your leg. So I said, okay. I'm on the ice, I said, I'll just ice it. So, again, that doesn't, it's a good, maybe it's a topic. Is it a good speech? I don't know yet. At least it's a good story. So then I thought about it, wow, leg breaking is loud. That might be interesting. So that might be an interesting physics story. How this guy was skating next to me heard my leg snap. Because it's inside, and it's a crowded skating rink. How did he hear my leg snap? I haven't done the calculations. Or it could be a story of humanity in the sense that this guy, out of his generosity, came around, skated, and told me not to get up. So I wouldn't damage it any further. And then later on, I was laid up for the next 4 months because of a spiral fracture.
Oh my God.
And I found out who my good friends were. So from this kind of string of thought, I've gotten the basis for maybe a couple of topics, or at least one good story and then maybe one topic. So the conclusion is personal experiences gives you stories, passion, and a comfort zone because you are familiar with yourself. Resources will give you material from the outside that's current. Also gives you more reference material by finding out how loud the language should be when it breaks. And that could evolve into a good speech. So that's how you generate an excellent speech topic. I have one bonus slide, is to use this technique to create multiple topics for multiple speeches. As a Toastmaster, you have 10 speeches to do. It comes in a packet of 10. Advanced manuals come in packets of 5. You don't have to do all 10 or all 5 at once, but I found it useful to pre-read all the objectives, and so I have them cut it in my mind. Then when I start generating these topics, I could generate all the topics I need for the next 5 or 10, 3, 5, 10 speeches. They don't always turn out to be what I actually give, but at least it takes the load off my mind. I don't have to worry about it. So I've used that in my speeches, and I've been efficient. That's why I've been able to kind of give speeches every once, more often than I probably should be. Thank you.